August 15th, 2023, myself, Vincent Forty Jr., Chair, Vice Chair, Trish LeClaire, new member on the board, Rick Gilbati. Gilberti, sorry, that's all right. And I guess Pam's our recorder from IT, and Beth Cornell Smith from Human Resources. Okay, first order of business, let's do minutes from the last meeting. Yeah. Yeah. That's pretty. Pretty good.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve our minutes for July 18th of 2023.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. Carried. So,
The state is not coming.
no, it's your family emergency, so. So I'm not sure what the schedule is. Yeah. Usually it gives time. Maybe it's in- I think Stacy first, then Kate, so the first. Gonna be a town, wasn't it?
Yes.
So, received your, application interest in, Board of Health position. That's the first one.
So what makes you interested in this position?
Sure. Well, first of all, my name is Tom Martin. Pleasure to be here. Thank you guys for having me. It's really nice to be a like next door neighbor. I just moved to Woonsocket, so it's just right over the line for me. In terms of the Board of Health position, so I began a career in EMS working as a paramedic and sort of got my footing in sort of disaster work, working in floods and the Red Cross and FEMA, things like that. Sort of when I deployed to Hurricane Harvey, I became sort of enamored with flood policy and working in sort of that realm, which sort of was the springboard into pursuing a degree in public health at Bridgewater State. And from there, I just sort of was able to dabble in different fields of public health versus like health policy or environmental health issues, consumer health, just things of that nature. And that's just where my interest has been, and pursuant to sort of keeping my EMS background as sort of emergency response and working with ed and going through undergrad. I was part of a Board of Health internship at the Provincetown. So, and it just happened to be during COVID, which made things a bit more complicated.
Yeah.
But also, where the challenges, there are opportunities. So, making that 2-hour commute down to the Cape was sort of a trip that I had to pack like an overnight bag sometimes. Yeah. But it was great. I love doing it. I sort of was able to work with ETAM, Board of Health, and just the neighboring boards of health. And that was just a reinforcement to some of the work that they do. And it sort of reinforced just the tagline that I have on my LinkedIn, that the people's health is my business. And that's what I like to do, and that's what I like to continue to do. And I think that would be a really good fit for the position, just based on my experience and background.
So when you were down in Provincetown, it was during COVID, you said, so it was more focused on that.
There were parts of it, yeah. The first task that I had to do actually was working with sort of medical geographies, mapping out the lower Cape. One of the biggest tasks that we wanted to do was figuring out the uninsured rate for that area, which and sort of the housing issue, because there's definitely a housing insecurity issue on the Cape with folks that are transient and folks that are still living there. So trying to find affordable housing for the folks that live there is, not just a economic issue, it's a public health issue, because we tend to have a growing homeless population. So that was one of the first initiatives that I did, was mapping out the patient population, where they are, the clusters. The second thing that I did was obviously COVID operations, working with vaccination operations, things like that. The last sort of task that I was charged with was just developing a community program for community paramedics to figure out how we can best serve the population, because they don't have. Provincetown is the farthest town from any hospital in Massachusetts. It's about a 2.5-hour drive to the nearest level 2. Yeah. So it's very far. So if you get sick or injured, either you're going to be life flighted out, or you're going to enjoy a 2.5-hour ride. And hopefully you're not a critical patient, or in bad weather.
Yeah.
So, and so part of that job was creating a community health program with paramedics. How can we utilize the resources that we have available with the fire department that's in Provincetown and Truro, and figuring out how we can best allocate those resources, use them effectively in our queues to, smartly target the patients that really need the vulnerable populations. Like, there's a lot of elderly people that live down there.
Mhm.
So how can we best assess them, especially if they don't have like a usual source of care? So things like that. So different things for the Board of Health. And then once it completed, I was hoping to jump on with Barnstable County Board of Health, working with them, but I graduated and it was a little too far because I moved farther away. So
Yeah.
so,
Did you ever do like any house inspections?
I did
Yeah,
not, but
sorry.
COVID made it a little hard, just
Yeah.
based on what it was. A lot of the work that I did some of it was some remote, but like some of the on-scene sort of, some of the scene work that I did was, sort of like the mass vaccinations, setting up the tents, working in the EOC to figure out how we can best work and sort of traffic people in to figure out how we're going to best, vaccinate them and any of the supply stocks, and sat in plenty of meetings with the governor and our folks, just to sort of like as a wallflower to figure out how we're gonna, our operational needs and things like that. But I didn't have the chance to do any inspections as I wanted to. A lot of us in the class were sort of hindered by that experience, and so COVID really put a damper on that ability to get that experience. So,
Is that something you'd be interested in learning, is doing house inspections?
yeah,
and-
absolutely, no, absolutely. So I used to live in New Orleans. I was a paramedic for the city down there, and that was a firsthand experience about, abject poverty, having a different perspective of poverty and how people live. And, you walk into somebody's house in the Ninth Ward, and it's something that you can't really fathom how some people are living, especially infestations and things like that. And I became well aware about the difference between sizes of cockroaches. The small ones versus the big ones, which ones are it was a learning experience. And so yeah, and from there, that was like, again, looking at some of the housing issues and the social determinants of health that are really affecting the barriers that are there. I currently, right now, I'm the quality and risk manager for TUF. So I work in the division of hematology oncology and quality work. I don't really have any patient interface, but a lot of the work that I do is audits and inspections. So and I can tell you that a lot of physicians and nurses don't like to be inspected or audited based on like clinical practice. So I'm sort of like the regulatory guru out there in terms of SOPs and policies. And so it's not very nice when they have like a root cause analysis email from me, like, hey, we messed up on this, or we have an adverse event that happened to a patient. So I didn't really know anything about it, but I jumped in. It took me a few months, probably 2 months, to really get a hold of what I need to do. But happy to do it. And so
And then, so, you do a lot of like corrections, you need to fix this, and sometimes you get a little pushback, like, how do you handle that type of situation?
So I've been used to it, working on the back of an ambulance. I get a lot of pushback from patients who can be unruly or uncooperative. But you kill them with kindness. You do the best you can. You try to educate people. Sometimes people are receptive, sometimes people are not. But you provide the information, you serve as an informational resource for people who want it and who need it. And you work in the best interest of the person or the patient population, or in my case, the patient left in the back of the ambulance. And again, you get some patients who don't want to go to the hospital, who you think need to go, or in their best interest. But sometimes you can't force a horse to drink water. You can lead them there, but you can't force them to drink. So
That's
yeah.
true. And then, what comes along with this role is, obviously we got inspection, so restaurants, schools, stores. If there's an issue, you gotta go out there and inspect, which you haven't had experience with that, but you seem to be willing to learn that. We do septic plans. You don't have to draw them out, they're already drawn out, but just, and I think
Very good artist, just let
kind
you
of
know.
like
Just go.
to understand the prints and everything, and what the rules are for that. Septic
Yeah,
inspection.
like what she mentioned was initially with the 4 plans drawn. There's a perk test and soil evaluation, so that's something you'd have to learn. Right now, our other assistant agent, Steve Donatelli, is doing that for the town. I'm taking care of the rest of the stuff. He, would gladly, work with somebody for, like, my goal is, whoever the person is, that they'll have a 6-month review and a 1-year review. The septic side on the inspector side, that's easily done in 6 months span. The soil evaluation and that stuff is a lot harder to attain. It's intense. And the state has a third party handling it, which means it's not working the way it should, because they have 5,000 or 6,000 inspectors. They don't think they need it. That's for industry that draws the plans, but the town agent witnesses them. So then the soil evaluator, perk agent for the planning company, they design the plans, but both have to agree. One puts it in their book, they put it in their book, and then take it and design it. The board then reviews that plan, if it's a Title V waiver variances, then the agent will fill in all the details of like what code, it is, and then we just review those and pass them. So, because Title V is for repairs, everything is a repair if it's not brand new construction. So if you tear out a whole system, that's a repair. that has to get reviewed by the board and approved under, the state law by the board, and then it gets enacted. So that's something that we have to learn about, that's like a pretty heavy task. So I'm hoping that this Board of Health, which has already contacted the state, says, if we have an agent, that's not like another person working in an engineering firm. That's somebody that needs to have that skill, so they can't wait 6 months, right? But that cost should be able to be completed in 1 year. The other thing we have is, since you mentioned, homeless people and what do you call it? Housing inspections. The other thing we get on a routine basis is HOI. We have town housing, and like the manager of the entity will call us and say, we got another one. What do we do? Well, usually we'll go down and inspect it, I will, and then or the health agent, once they take the housing cost. And then we try to get them hooked up with Tri-Valley or some other service in town. But people, they're not always old people, like most of them. They tend to not want you to touch. Find trash this high on the floor, so we step on a can like I did once. Luckily, I didn't put my head through a glass window, but I didn't see it. That's right. And then some people have animals that, are in the apartments. It can be
risky business. It can be
Yeah,
risky.
I mean, it's not all the time.
No, but it does happen. We got one today, and I said, well, let's wait till later in the week and see if some of the human services can help. Sure. Because, the Board of Health shows up, it's probably not a good thing, they're not wanting to. What I like, well, I don't, but sometimes they get transported, the fire department calls us, the housing calls us, but they get transported, then I can respect the privacy without having someone being combative, But those that are there, they'll say, you can't throw anything away. We're not gonna throw it away, someone's gonna work with you. Having family sometimes is good, but usually there are these people, close.
Yeah, I think I've seen this show, I think it's the TLC show.
Yeah.
So I have,
It's
yeah, so I.
Not as bad.
Probably not as bad
So
as that.
I'm getting a glimpse.
There are extreme cases, but we've had 1 or 2 cases in Bellingham where the entire house is covered 4 feet high on an 8-foot ceiling with food rotting. It was pretty interesting. And the vehicle, the person driving it, food filled, it was a caravan, just filled with food rotting. Anyway,
So
so
you're saying is that they're not composting is what you're saying?
Well, yeah.
So-
So, that was a like I said, Title V inspections, soil evaluations, stuff like that, extremely important. And again, like minimum housing violations, you'll go with building sometimes, or they'll look at structure, but we will look at those screens in the windows, floors flooded, things that make it an unhabitable situation.
Do you have any questions about any of what we just talked about?
I think it's pretty straightforward. The job description was pretty straightforward about, the expectations and what you're seeking in a health agent to conduct. And so, I mean, you do it with impartiality as well. I mean, again, you do it in the best interest of the people. So.
Yeah.
The other thing
That's
she
what it's all
mentioned,
about.
food inspection. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Serve safe
Sure.
is
That's a
relatively
fairly easy one.
It's a 3-hour session where they give you the exam during the session, so it's pretty straightforward. That's easy to achieve.
Can you explain what a certified crowd manager is?
Sure, with the National Fire Service, so it's basically restaurants, like you look at the maximum occupant capacity, so this came out after the station like a fire for some of the regulations that, some of the practices that we're not following, the rules that we're not following. The unnecessary number of deaths that happened from that was because of some of the, fight egresses, the number of egresses, for example, locked doors, things like that. So the crowd manager certification is pretty much to inspect, to make sure that the venue is safe, that there, we have a number of egresses, the appropriate ventilation systems, things like that, sprinkler systems, making sure that it's safe for people to come in, and that the number of people that can come in are, if it's at max capacity, that they're not exceeding that capacity. So it's a way to prevent another station like fire.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions?
No, I'm all set.
Yeah, you good? Beth? No questions? No. Okay.
Good.
Um,
Oh. Yes.
No, okay.
Yeah, you can hang around if you like.
Yeah, we have one more person to interview.
No worries, I
tonight as
got some
well.
dinner plans, so late dinner plans, but I appreciate you guys so much. Thanks for having me.
We're, basically not gonna make a decision tonight. We're gonna basically, take the information. Yeah. And then digest it.
Sure. Well, I look forward to hearing from you guys soon.
All right.
Thank you guys. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Enjoy the meeting. Don't stay here too late.
Yeah.
Try not to.
I have no comment. So we do not have a Caitlin. Let's go to 7:30. Not a problem. 7:30 is when the individual's supposed to show up, but
If he isn't, I'll make my stupid.
he was given the choice of all the venues, either zooming in, coming in. He's on for 7:30. I thought he was on for 7:45, but according to the agenda, he's on for 7:30.
Do you have any of the other applicants coming?
I'm hoping that she would come in now, Caitlin.
Yeah, Stacy
Stacy
did not
had a
come and
medical
she had a
emergency.
family emergency.
Yeah,
She's
so-
not coming. So the only other one is Caitlin, so if she's
So
not
put
here
off
by,
the interview until the next meeting.
Yeah, I would like to do that, and like I said, I have a few little questions for Stacy. We looked at travel distances. Where Stacy is in Spencer, it's 51 minutes. Where the other lady is Rehoboth, it's 44. So they have identical degrees. He has a similar degree, but instead of public health, it's health administration. So that is a big difference between public health and, usually doctors will get an MPH. Because it gives them a little more of the other side of medicine. In public health, how the state manages and how the country manages. So it's usually degrees, an MD or a physician assistant would get. But
would you look in to make sure that everything on here is legit, like the schooling? Do you usually do that? Or we just take their word for
I
it?
don't usually, it's usually. We do reference calls, which is usually what we do,
Okay,
but keep in mind, the positions that we hire aren't necessarily. Needing the certificates that you were.
Correct.
right,
So that's something that I would recommend that it be done, because I'm sure there are state sites that you can go on and check.
Right.
So something like that.
well, even the work history, just,
yeah,
you
I
know,
did.
just curious. I mean,
Yeah, and we do, we'll call
Okay.
if, we'll do the reference
Perfect.
check. Sometimes the department or the hiring department will do them because they have a connection. But I'm available to do any of the calls. I've done many of them.
Okay,
Laura and I did the first two candidates we had, male candidates, and they put down that they had some of these things and went to state registry. They list everybody's registration for respect to a soil evaluator. And neither one of them had. One had it, but let it lapse. I'm not sure why that happened. But
And in this case, like I said, because of the job, you need those licenses.
correct.
So like with the DPW, they obviously check for the people with the licenses there. They do that part of it. School looks at their certificates, their degrees. So it depends on the position, but my recommendation is.
But they would internally do that, departments.
They would, but I've also been asked before to do
Okay,
it.
fine.
So I'm flexible, whatever you need.
yeah, I'm just curious on the work history, really, it's not, I mean.
Right. It's not a
Necessarily.
life
the
check, it's
education
more-
work You said, it's
Yeah.
more just,
But, would you do that before we narrow it down to one? Or-
I would do it whenever you
Okay.
ask. But I would recommend not waiting until you're down to the last one,
right,
Okay.
because then you're stuck. Then you're going back and saying, okay, we said no to you, but now we really want you.
Right, okay.
yeah,
So let's say we narrow it to two and then we'll just do it that way.
I think we should just have her do it now. I
Okay.
thought he presented himself
Okay.
very well.
Okay, yeah, you did. Okay,
And
so,
I mean. He has like a decent history, not like poor health history, but
no,
I think he could be easily trained.
Mhm.
We also do a safest and a quarry check. Yep, so that way those are done.
But we would have to let them know first, right?
The
Because
quarry
they-
part, they have to sign off on it. The
Right.
safest, I don't need authorization
Right.
to do it, but the quarry, yes, they need to sign off on it. That would be part of the next step when they come in. That's when I would explain to them about the benefits and what they need.
Okay.
And, you know, tell them that if they needed to sit with me to go over anything, then that's where I get into the more of the detail.
So I have a question. So when I sort of mentioned him, and I think I mentioned the other candidates, but I may not have. I would like to do, like I told you, one or two certificates or licenses. That's really easy to get. So you should get that in the first 6 months. You know, and then the last one being the soil barrier and perk test stuff. You gotta go out and do a lot of those. And to get the course, which is over 2 weeks, and it's all, there is digging involved. So you got to get your hands dirty, and you gotta be able to see. So hopefully, no one's colorblind, because you cannot be a soil barrier.
But I mean, that's something that we can put.
Well, I don't want to say that that's picking on someone with disability, but
Right.
you have to
There
be.
could be there could be accommodate. We don't know if
I
there
don't,
could be
well, I
accommodation.
guess if you were blind, you'd have it in braille. But this is color, I don't. you
No,
can't
I
write.
understand that, but you never rule it out.
You never rule it
Because
out.
you don't know what is going to be
But
developed.
that would be
down
the
the road.
year probate. It is okay to say to someone, we will start you at this. 6 months, if you achieve half, you get the other half, and at the end, you have to achieve that, you get the remaining.
Yeah, we do that many
That's-
times with the DPW, as a license, each license is earned. They increase the pay.
Okay, so we can do that then.
You
That's-
can, the only thing I would recommend is if you would want to talk, because he's in the professional union. And there's nothing like that in there. We would need to sit down, I would need to sit down with the president and see if that was a problem for them.
Okay.
Because they have just a flat amount and it's
So the
nothing.
minute he's on hired, he's in the union.
Mhm.
Okay. Because, you know, obviously I would say like. it's
The thing is, I mean, if we couldn't
Flunked
have
out,
him
you say like, well, you can't,
or
yeah.
her,
him or her, you can't flunk out and not get it, because it's. Absolutely not gonna stay as a taxpayer and as a professional. We're not keeping two agents, you know,
it's a requirement.
it's a requirement, you know, so.
Yeah, and you could put that in the offer letter, and again, you just talk to the professional union and say, you know, because of the position, we're willing to start with someone who needs to get them. But this is going to be part of the criteria. It's just like treasurer collector, part of that is that she has to go for her certification as a collector, certification as a treasurer. So, and DPW, they have certain licenses, obviously, if they don't have a CDL.
Right.
They can't work.
Or wastewater license, so a lot of those
Yeah.
guys have to have.
But they're union too, right? So,
Yep. So that's all been impact bargained.
okay,
Is that a professional or is that the other part?
That's the clerical, well, the DPW. Yep.
Okay.
well, I don't think she's gonna come.
Okay,
Um,
okay, so. I guess, we'll table, Caitlin and Stacy to the next meeting. Which is what?
Not to be rude, then that means.
Yeah. Thank you, Beth.
all right, so Beth, you will just follow up with the jobs for him, just.
I will.
Thank you so much. for doing
Yep. And not to interrupt, but,
You don't want to stick around for the fireworks.
no. Have Ann give me a call.
I will, she has no records. She has no records. Yeah, I think what she did, she left a list in instructions for where all the current files were.
Mhm.
And I don't even know that people know where the archives are. We have archives going back to 1982.
Yeah, I know those, but I didn't know if you had anything at home, if you had file cabinets at home.
I'm pretty sure she has distributed to all the members, all the.
So Laura, you back on?
Not connected yet.
Okay.
See how-
I'll have her give you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Beth.
Bye, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so, Laura just jumped in and, the
Joey's.
individuals on, we're gonna get them on camera, hopefully.
Okay.
But I wanted to ask Laura to, put these two people, Stacy and Caitlin.
Well, if Caitlin no show, I don't know.
Right.
We didn't know about it.
Let me ask Laura that question. Yeah, you're right, I wouldn't. Do that.
That just said no show?
Okay, Laura, you out there? I was undo that.
Yeah, she was sending you guys on Zoom. So Joey's here. Joey, thank you for coming into our meeting.
You're welcome.
All right, so can you kick it off?
Yeah, okay. So on June 13th, the DPW, the Bellingham Board of Health and the Bellingham Police Department received a complaint of dumping on a public way and private land off of Hopper Boulevard. The person that emailed us, stated it was you at that address. The DPW ran the address and the name and stuff like that, so we ended up having that you, Mr. Rinaldi, also own J&R Landscaping, and that was partly seen on one of the trucks. Then before, let's say, a few days went by, at one point, the Conservation Commission Chair and the administrator, Conservation Administrator, were doing a conservation check on a nearby road, and they decided to swing by Hopper Boulevard. They witnessed an individual, which later I'd like you at least to turn your camera on, that was pushing with a skid steer all the material into the wetland. So right at that present time, when I photographed it on the 13th, the entire back end of the roadway, 35 feet wide, maybe 20 feet deep, was completely covering the top. And then 2 or 3 days later, it was pushed in, probably at the weekend. I'm not sure what the date was on the 13th, but the day of the week, rather. But that at that time later on, all the material was pushed in there. And they
Who
said
did you see?
that's a wetland.
I'm sorry, we didn't hear you.
Did you see pushing the stuff in? I promise you that was not me.
Like personal stuff?
He
Who
said
did
it
you
wasn't
speak
him that was doing the pushing.
Okay.
He
Okay, well,
pushing it in.
was it one of your employees? I mean, nobody has a skid steer, in their
I don't have,
backyard or front yard and would
Never-
go do that.
I don't have a skid steer.
Sir, do you have the receipts of where you actually dump?
I dump at 4 different places. In
Do you
Armour
have those
Farm,
receipts?
Right.
Landscaping, my old boss, and my dude who used to work for me who wanted landfill. 3 out of 4 of those, I cannot get receipts. The other one, I can definitely try to get some for you.
Yeah, when I had Laura Renaud, our administrative agent, I asked her to have you provide a year's worth of receipts.
And I
That
told
way there.
you, 4 I cannot get receipts for. In Amish Farm, you think they're gonna give me receipts? No, they want it for their garden. My old boss, I worked for him for almost 4 years. He trusts me. He's not gonna give me receipts and act like it's a huge thing. My old buddy used to work for me. He
So
doesn't
who
have
was
receipts.
operating the skid steer? Can I ask you that?
Own one. I can't answer that for you. I don't have a skid steer.
So I have a quick question. Would you mind turning on your camera?
I will turn on my camera right now. As soon as I figure out how to. Boom. Unable to access.
That's fine. There's a little thing that says video, just click the red X off the video and it should come on. It's hot. Well, I think if you see him. Have you figured out there, Mr. Ronaldi?
I don't know. It's probably going out and then he's gonna probably come back on and then.
Who's Joe?
That's him.
Joseph Ronaldi. So it says Joey's on.
So who's Tim?
Who's what?
Tim.
Did he say that? I,
So he identified himself as us, Tim Ronaldo.
Yeah, so it says Joey's. Oh,
He said,
so who's?
he had a walk behind track vehicle, and he was pushing stuff on the road. I saw him, I told him, stop.
And the bottom line is,
You know what he told him? He said, all the neighbors here have been dumping their grass clippings and their trimming and all of that stuff here at the end of the road, and it's disgusting. So I'm just clearing the road. And I told him that the amount of material that had been dumped there was industrial dumping, commercial, not
homeowners. And by the way, there's no homeowners dumping. I went into 2 backyards of the adjoining, nothing.
He rented that vehicle. That's what he told us.
Okay, he rented it.
There's a walk behind track vehicle, and he was pushing the stuff in. He said, geez, it cost me $350 to rent this thing. Will you tell me I can't use it? I said, yeah, but stop pushing stuff into a resource center. That's nothing so serious. Look at all the crap out there. They said, as far as I know, you put it there. Right? We can't say that. I said, well, I can see the track that you just made in there. I can see all the freaking debris. I'll go to court. Nobody minds. This guy-
Pam, is he waiting to come back into the waiting room or?
He has not entered the waiting room yet.
Let me make a
Okay,
statement. Let me make a statement and then we can put it on the record. Okay. I don't have a problem.
So, Pam, are you recording this for us? Because Laura's not here.
it just automatically gets recorded, right?
I think so. Well, okay.
Oops. Yes, I am recording it for you.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, Joey's
All right,
back
I'm back.
on.
So, Mr. Rinaldi, it says Joey's iPhone, and I thought you said, I couldn't hear it, but did you say you're Tim? Who's Tim?
I never said anything about a Tim.
Okay, fine. So you're Joseph Rinaldi.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay, so on Friday, June 16th at 10 a.m., the administrator, myself, chairman, had 5 site inspections that we had to complete that morning. And at the request of the Board of Health, we decided to stop in at the end of Harper Boulevard to see if we thought that there was any activity taking place that was potentially illegal. As we pulled down the end of Harper Boulevard, there was a person operating a tracked vehicle, walk behind, and he was in the process of pushing stuff over the bank into a regulated resource area. We saw it. We got out of the car. The administrator cautioned him to stop the work that he was doing. He informed us that he had paid. Excuse me.
Do I look like the person you saw down there?
He gave his name as Tim Rinaldi.
I don't know who that is. I don't have anybody relate to me as Tim.
And your name is Rinaldi?
My name is Rinaldi, yes.
It's very difficult.
Joseph.
It's very difficult to see if you're the person that we met that day.
Do I look like the man they talked to?
I talked to. I can't
Do I
tell.
look like the man?
I can't tell.
You
I can't tell.
tell.
No. All I see is a guy with dark hair with a dark background.
And you can't
Let
tell.
me
when you
finish
look
my
face to
story,
face.
please.
So he's gonna finish
Let
the
me
story,
finish my,
and then you
let
can
me finish
enter in.
my observation. So what the person told me was that, he'd rented this, walk behind track vehicle, in order to clear, yard waste and debris that had been placed there by the neighborhood. And he felt that it was not right for the neighborhood people to be dumping this stuff at the end of the road. And I followed him along a path that he had created into a regulated resource area and told him that there was a bunch of material that had been deposited there that was all fresh. And the result of that pushing material into a resource area was not from neighborhood people dumping grass clippings and leaves or yard waste, but rather more of an industrial style dumping. And it was a fairly egregious violation. We told the fellow to stop. And he was complaining because he had to rent the vehicle. He rented it, I believe, from Lowe's. And then we reported back to the Board of Health that there was definitely a violation taking place there. And that's our testimony. We saw it, it's taking place. His name is definitely Rinaldi, and that's all I can say.
Now, the other bit of information I have is, as I said to you, the email to the DPW, the Board of Health, and the Bellingham Police Department. I informed DPW and Bellingham Police I would take care of this, because this, I consider a commercial littering bylaw, that we created, regulation, and this is a violation of it. Clearly, as Mr. Matthews states, this is a violation of Wetland Protection Act in a great manner. And it's also, that stuff now is composting. You're not allowed under the Wetland Protection Act to compost within 50 feet of a wetland, let alone in no wetland. And there's substantial, I'd say 70 to 100 yards of material in there. And this has been going on according to the email for over 2 years. The person complained because now it's rotting and smelling of the neighborhood. And, you know, the one that was in the roadway was actually pretty,
It was liquefying. It was turning into silage.
so, I don't know. And what did you say you had the receipts? You only have like, how
I
many?
can show you that you keep claiming that I was out working all day. I can call my customer, get whatever you want to call it, a letter, and tell them that I was on their lawn. If that's what you need me to do, I can do that. I'm not.
Mr. Rinaldi, can I ask this question, sir? You got a certified letter on the 2nd of August requesting receipts. You did receive that letter, that's correct. Where are the receipts? It's a pretty simple, easy answer. You say you have some, please show them to us.
Do I look like the guy you were talking to?
Sir, that's not the question I'm asking. I'm asking that you received a letter from us stating, please turn in receipts. You've mentioned once here tonight, don't have them from 3 different companies, but you have them from one company. Where are they? Please produce that one company's receipts. It's a simple, pretty easy request.
Can't promise it's gonna go that far back if I've been dumping at all these different places. Different seasons, I'm doing different jobs. I'm dumping.
Yeah,
at
you're still
different
not
places.
answering the question. Where are the receipts from the last company you actually spent money to?
Get them for you.
Well, we asked you to produce them for tonight. When are you gonna get them to us, sir?
I told you for the 3rd time I don't know how far I can get them back for you. I told you, different seasons require different dumping spots. I am trying. I don't know
All right,
how
sir,
far
thank you.
back for you. You
Well,
can't even tell me if I'm the guy you talk to.
All I know is his name was Rinaldi, and I saw him doing it. That's all I know. That's all I can tell you.
so I'd suggest you get the receipts you can get, and as far back as you can go. Send them into the Board of Health to Laura Renaud. Tomorrow or the next day, or by the latest Monday. Let's see what you have. And we will, let's say, continue the matter, and we'll make a decision as to what the next step will be. We do have testimony tonight from the health, it's coming from the Conservation Administrator, Chairman, previous, and we have email testimony that you were doping, so. Whether he heard the name, the guy gave him a name, Tim, he can't visualize you. It's a little dark in your background there, so he can't really see you that well.
I'll show you. I'll put the light on.
Okay. Yeah, no.
Well, either
I get it
way,
right.
either way, you have a resident that said it was him.
Right.
Cool.
So we had a resident who said that it was you, so that's why we're asking you
Right.
for receipts.
Right.
So whether you get 5, 6, 10, 12, just show us something so that we know that you've been dumping.
See, we
I'm
asked
trying.
for a year for a reason. That looks like way more than 1 year's dumping, various seasons. Probably 2 is conservative. So we asked for a year, just figuring, well, if you have a business, you have to keep your receipts because you have
Is
to.
he familiar with Harper Boulevard? Is he familiar with that street?
Best I can. Thank you. I hope you guys have a great night.
Okay, thank you. He lives at number 20. So,
Right, I mean, that's right there.
Oh my God. All right.
he doesn't realize the person that doesn't want to get, she said, I don't want to.
Don't say the names.
No,
That's all right.
No, it's, you know what?
We can move on.
She said, I want to watch. So
All I want you to know is that if you go to court, I'll testify.
All right, thanks, Cliff.
I will fear. That's
I'm
what
hoping we don't have to do that. I'm telling him to take 75% out. You have to spend money to pull all that stuff out. And I'm even, I haven't gotten it nailed down yet. I said, he's taking the recycling center. Even though they said, well, we don't accept commercial waste. I said, I'm trying to get a violator to, how do I say it? A little bit of use,
Make it better.
not make it harder for him to comply. I said, if he complies, taking 75% off, and then I thought, well, what happens is there is some vegetation growing up. If he flattens it out, and the town's gonna have to come in and put 3-inch riprap. There's a hole now. I can hide in it, it's that deep, and it's eroding
Off the end of the road.
the entire end of the road.
Well, because there's nothing there but silage.
Well, what happens when in one time.
He was probably wearing a hat that day too. Most construction, when they're doing landscaping type stuff. they wear a hat.
Stuff that I saw there was all different kinds of species.
Okay.
And I saw
There were logs right there.
grass that was probably 20 feet deep.
Wow.
And whoever was doing the pushing had made a path well out into the top. Because there was such a volume of material that had been disposed of, he was just making huge.
Like his own
paths.
Now, the other thing too
So
is,
he could just
Yeah.
keep dumping.
Cliff, instead of going on the left side, did you see the guy's land on the right side? He went into his backyard, dumped it all the way around.
Yeah.
Now, I had to try to get a ladder 30 feet in, so I'm going down and I slid. Luckily, all the way down. Then I finally got the ladder up and I was only thinking, bees, we get crucified, they can't move. But there were vines. Finally, I found a tree that was shooting. So I have about 7,000 pictures, but it's nobody else going there. I saw the highway department come by, turn.
Well, they stopped. He stopped doing it when he found out he was caught.
And it was so bad because I had put the camera up a day later, because of the rain, I couldn't get in, you know, anyway, it is what it is. Right?
Thank you, Cliff, for
Okay,
coming.
thank you.
No sweat.
The show must go on.
Good luck.
Thank you.
We're gonna have to review this, I don't know.
You wanna table it until
We'll
the next
table it.
meeting?
Yeah, we'll keep it until.
Yeah.
Um,
You know, the only thing I'll say is, you know. Since Mr. Rinaldi's had experience in this thing in policing. Probably even detective work, but whatever. This said, if I can't get Cliff to identify him visually, which kind of hurts. You know, it's like a picture's worth 1,000 words. But his testimony, based on the other person who knows him, she gave the name of the company and the name of the individual. That person has an email testimony. So
And no
I don't
one's
know
ever,
if a clerk magistrate will say it's good enough for. What, I don't, I'm not sure. You have any feelings on that?
No, it's hard to say.
Okay. They're variable, right?
Because of the clerk makes the decision on what's been said right then and there. Sometimes they go for it, sometimes they don't.
Right, okay. Because I've done a few with housing issue. And you know, it usually worked out, you know, Mike and I went down and we.
I've done probably 60 or 70
I only
in
did
front of clerk magistrates, and like I said, it's that day, he takes the she takes the testimony and makes a decision, and sometimes you never know which way they're gonna go.
Obviously, if they don't go in favor, you just drop it, and then what Cliff and Ann didn't want to hear. You know, so somebody else said, are you kidding me, Vinny? I said, hey, I'm gonna ask nicely for the DPW to clean it all up, and that's, if they say no, I'm gonna order them on the board of health. They have no choice but then to do it. And then they both said, yeah, but that's taxpayer money. I said, I'm sorry. I just can't let that sit there like that because, you know, it's littering and it's also, as Cliff put it, a severe wetland, you know, violation, you know. And, you know, I mean, people seeing that probably at that, in that boulevard, are not gonna do anything. I wouldn't think it's like getting publicized where people say, well, I guess you can do it because no one's gonna stop it, you know. But I have to fence, you know, then we have to fence it in. It would be better if it was fenced in, you can't see all that debris versus, you know, chain linking and putting 2 signs, littering, $1,000 fine, yeah, something like that.
All right, well, hopefully he'll turn his
Okay,
receipts
let's
in
see
and we'll
what
move
happens,
forward.
I guess, okay. So tobacco agent and food agent updates,
there's nothing.
we don't have any. The only thing I can say is, Michelle and I went out to do, the Bellingham Day. We did all the mobile vendors, about 4 of them. They obviously, the day we canceled due to torrential rain. So we didn't have them firing up the ovens, but I went back there for the Saturday fireworks and everything was fired up and I saw a couple of people. We did temp, everything was cold. One of them had batches for, what do you call that? The milk that goes into making ice cream, soft serve, and the shakes. And that has to have a, what do we call it, the word, like a pasteurization thing and a bacterial level that, you know, is a small number. And you have to have that from the vendor or the person who sells it, like Gorelick or Wood. And they had those reports right there. I said, oh, that's good. So Michelle's able to use the tablet, just click.
So she had no problem using the fertilizer and.
No, she was pretty good at it. She said, you know, this is easy, man. So then, because she had a little more time and she wanted to make it a full hour, we went and did aroma pizza in the, across from the post office. Is some other kind of pizza. So we went in there. There was a few things that you had to fix, but for the most part, everything was good. The hot temps were at the right temperature. The place was clean. There are a couple of cases where you had like a cleaning compound too close. He said, we were clean. I said, well, put it in the back room. I said, try not to clean when the food out. And then he was not blanching, what do you call it when you cook the macaroni and then you let it get like hang and then get cold. You know what they do is they mix it up and they make it pasta salad. So
Homemade? Like from
yeah,
scratch?
yeah. So, you know, the pasta comes out in a big basket instead of like a pot. It comes out of like sink that's like got hot water, so it boils. And then you pull it up there and you let it sit there a little bit, it drains over the counter area. It's all stainless too. And then they had quite a bit of, oh, this thing wasn't like that big, that wide, that tall. It was filled. I said to myself, I just couldn't jump in there. I said, well, if you don't sell it all, make sure that you get that in the fridge. And I said, and we did check the fridges, make sure there was no raw stuff. In that operation, there really wasn't. He did have some pork, and he had like 160 or 165. That's really good.
I'm glad that she's getting out there.
Right,
though, and
And
she's-
and her and Laura want to continue doing this until we figure out what's happening with Robbie, or as her and Laura said. If you're gonna get a new person, and maybe you're gonna take it away because you can't handle this new job at DPW.
and the
Yeah,
girls can split
They
it,
said,
maybe.
we can help,
Mhm.
because there is no way that person's gonna do all the what else stuff.
Right.
And they kept saying, like, you realize how many complaints come in? It's brutal. I mean, I got actually, while I was on vacation, got 3 days, no complaints. And then Trudy started sending them to me by email. And I said, Trudy, just call me. I don't check my email till at night. So I went in the next morning and I took care of the complaints. Like
Well,
today,
I'm glad you got to do inspections.
Yeah,
for
yeah,
them.
yeah.
Now, is Laura gonna go out too?
yeah, Laura's gonna go. I think they can go.
Once it gets back?
Yeah, and
next
then
week.
I said, well, school's getting ready to open.
Yeah.
So I said,
They should do those inspections.
I was gonna say, well, if
I'll
Trish and I are
do
not
it
doing
now.
it, then I guess I'll go.
Well,
with
they
it.
could actually do it on their days off,
They
because
could.
they each have a
Yeah,
day off,
they
so
do,
they
they
can
do,
go,
yeah.
they can go anytime, they can
Right,
go.
right.
you
Well,
know,
what
as long
happened
as
was
it's-
too is they, that day Michelle was getting off at 3:30. So she wanted to go out and do the inspections, till like 4:30. So she did, we did an hour of inspections. Yeah.
Yeah. that
Hey,
works.
guys. How you doing? It's Tim.
Oh, hi,
But Tim,
Tim.
how you doing?
Tim,
Good.
iPhone 5.
Okay. You're in-
So they have to be done next week. All the schools.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
so I'll definitely get with that. I'm going I have to do my inspections, so I'll see who's ever's available after hours.
Right.
It's gonna-
Okay,
gonna
great.
fit
Tim,
in.
the other thing too is, Bruce kept saying this to us and I said, to the girls initially, I said, listen, there is no more. Every entity kitchen in the school system has to have a serve-safe person on site, not the lady in Arizona. Maybe she's the serve-safe coordinator, but I have a feeling she's the serve-safe person. You
I
can't
hope
have,
there's another one that's around.
right, because I said,
it's
to
not
the
gonna have
girls,
to get
if
certified.
they are not a serve safe person there, I'm closing them down.
Okay.
So I gotta be a nice guy, but I cannot allow the government to do something wrong when business,
Has to do things right.
has to do things right. You just
Oh,
can't, you
I
can't
get- I
have
get
a
it. I
double-edged
get it.
sword,
Does
We're-
anybody know, Vinny, is there anyone else registered as ServSafe at those locations, do you know? Other
I
than-
did not get
the
that. I
director?
think maybe Laura can call and find out.
Okay,
I thought we did ask for that to be done.
We did
before,
ask for that
But I just
last
don't know
night.
if the same people are there or
Right,
new
right.
people,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? I have
Yeah.
no idea.
And then they have. a-
I'll follow up on it too, because like I
And then
said,
one
I
other
have.
thing, Tim, they had they have a truck that they use. I had Robbie inspect it last year. The problem is, instead of having stainless steel containers or, how do I say it, like on a rack, they were just on the floor. He said they weren't dirty, but he said the truck looked like it had been used for a few other different things. If it's a food truck, it needs to be spotless in there. I suggested the school can afford stainless steel containers like industry and restaurants have to do. The food is better stored in a stainless steel container. It's easy to reheat and it's unlike plastics. They get crazed and the bacteria can grow inside we call the micro cracks. It's the same thing when you get forks in a restaurant or dishes. They're all scratched. I won't accept that. I want another dish or a fork.
Tim,
because-
were you on for the last interview?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay. Cool.
Okay. So, okay, thanks, Tim.
All right, have a good night.
You too. Okay, so, yeah, well, let's see, we got the, we'll get, you wanna do, oh, bills. Okay, the only other thing is, the other two item goals are on hold, yes.
Oh, the-
We have to do the, well, let's just say on old business, new business, when we passed last Tuesday, excuse me, 2 weeks ago, Tuesday, the, fog, fats, oil and grease, Rick, regulation. It's amazing, we're getting a lot of complaints now, and, you know, so they said, well, we're gonna put this in their jacket. And, Laura has a lady that's working, work off program for taxes. So she's a spreadsheet person, so she laid out a spreadsheet. Well, that's real good. Now, what I like to do is put a line here, and now you fill in the numbers. But save the paperwork, because they're giving it to us. But fill in all the numbers, then we can look at this. And then when it comes February, they can show us the state people, they'll be so impressed that we passed the regulation that they didn't inspect. That they'll, in the middle of winter, won't want to go inspect because everything will. And they'll say, guess what? Grease stopped flowing from Bellingham. That's what I want.
That'd be good.
Which means is, we do have a couple of restaurants that have grease pits that are outside and filthy. And people discard grease in buckets. So we're working on that. I'm not sure what Laura gave them a deadline to. Unfortunately, one of them is the owner of the business disappeared. So all those buckets followed by the fire department have to be taken care of by the owner of the plaza, which just bought that plaza. Sometimes you gotta be careful what you buy.
Yeah,
It comes with hidden things. Okay, so the next thing was we have to change the, well, this is the way I would like to do it. When we adopted the livestock definition, we put it under the Bellingham zoning, which is a bylaw, which has to go to town meeting for vote. Because we took the easy way out, instead of developing our own regulation, which is immune from going to town meeting.
well, it wasn't the easy way out. We
Well,
had
no, but
a
it was,
committee that went on for
but it's
months.
correct, but it was easier to adapt to that. Now we found out someone can read better than we can. Better than I can. I was told that right to my face and yelled and screaming at them that I can't read. And he said to her, he said, I want you to read that regulation. And the minute she said 6 months or older, he said, see? And he was gonna say you're stupid, but he didn't. He just walked out. And Laura said, I'm never going to the window with that guy. He was threatening, but I said, you know, he yelled a little because he got a violation notice. And I said to him, well, thanks for coming in, sir. I said, I'll fix that problem. So what I'm doing is, on the town meeting, I'll present this on the floor.
But what, tell him why it's
Okay.
become an issue.
So what happened was,
Why is?
he has allowed 3 goats on an agricultural piece of land. He's been there 2 years and he's destroyed the neighborhood for 3 people, 33, 32, and 31 years. The only problem is the lady with 33 years is a downhill of tank. He tore her fence down because it was 6 inches over. The previous neighbor didn't know when she bought that, you know, the fence has been there for 33 years. So he tore it all down because he said to you, 24 hours to move. He had a survey.
Not our problem, but go
Right,
ahead.
okay, so then we filled in the entire swale, so now all the water's coming into the yard. And I said, well, I really can't help you with that, that'll be a civil matter. I tried to go planning board, they couldn't fix that. But then he started bringing in livestock, which was goats. And, his, let's see, the Greek Orthodox have their Christmas in January. And they're, you know, like, we may have turkey and Thanksgiving, and we have ham or whatever else, or lamb, whatever it is, but they have to have goat, and it's a delicacy, and it's their sacred meal. So anyway, that said, I didn't know this, but the goats usually have twins. I always thought they had 1 for 1, occasionally to throw a twin, like dogs, they'll have like X number of, you know, their uterus can have like 8 puppies, but they'll throw 13. Anyway, that said, the regulation said 6 months, so what happens is, the first 2 females and his male hooked up, so they had 2 and 2 plus the 3. That's what, 7. Now he's up to 9. Now again, in January, he'll slaughter stuff. But I don't think he'll ever go back to 3. If he does, it's very brief. And I was trying to say to Trish, maybe we should order the neuter one. He won't do that. He can't do that. But the point is, he's gonna say, I'm not in violation of the law because it says 6 months or older. So The only flack I'll get from this, once you change a bylaw like this, everybody with a dog, everybody with another animal will say, hey, I don't think the Board of Health should do this. So I hope nobody does that, because if we fail, me, producing a regulation, we're taking ourselves out of that, we'll produce a regulation. And, I don't like when people abuse their neighbor, especially when you're the new guy. You shouldn't abuse your neighbors. And then to make things worse, he went to the guy that was a former police officer for 30 years and said, Mary's a racist. He's maybe Jamaican, or he's, I don't know, Miami, whatever. In any event, but Leo said, leave, because Leo said, she's not a racist. He just says, and then he walks his dog and.
Well, he has a small piece of land and
Right.
and he's not supposed to have
Correct.
more than 2 goats.
Right.
But because,
Well, three of them is what he said.
I thought it was 2.
It might be
But-
2, but I think it's 3 because it's 2.04 acres and it is agriculture. Now,
But because they're under 6 months.
Right.
There's nothing in there that states that he can
Right.
have,
Like-
there's no number, so he
Correct.
can just keep.
now the other thing that's been happening, and I told her to call Tracy. They go to work and then the animals are out in the sun and they're buying like crazy because they can't get to the water. Well, they kick the water over. So I said, take it up with Tracy, that'll be animal cruelty. They probably can do a better job with them. So anyway, if you look into your package here. Get to that article, whatever it is.
Article 6 definitions, 240 to 32 terms defined.
Where was that?
After the pictures.
Oh, right after fix it, okay. Oh, okay. Under definition zoning, okay, got it. Article 6, yeah. So. Anyway, yeah, livestock raising. Okay, yeah, the word, small farm animals or simple farm animals, 6 months or older. So, she submitted it due by Friday, but has to be into the town meeting by Friday. So that it can be heard on the floor, so. We're just gonna say to remove, the language of 6 months or older. Yeah. See if the town will vote, so this is what I'll use. 6 months or older. There, okay. Next item, what do you got?
So I'm just gonna do the bills and
Okay.
then we had,
Yeah.
an application for,
So a lot of times, like, we get to, 236 and 10 Kathy Drive, those would be requests for local upgrade approval. And there should be some language in there, and hopefully, we get those, Steve Donatelli, which does, he's the design guy too, he used to work for Shea. So he'll have put in like, it's one of them, I just can't, anyway, it'll be like, 310 CMR, 401, subsection BI. And that will refer to, let's say, groundwater distance from 4 to 3, or from foundation to septic tank, 10 to 5, or from leaching field to foundation. If it's less than 20, you have to put a 40 mil barrier, but if it's flat, you can go all the way down to 5. Okay, feet. So all those things are important because those were the things that state law gave us in 1995 after they passed the bizarre bill and then realized the whole state of Massachusetts, especially the older people, their house is their castle. And that's the biggest investment, and they're gonna take it away from people and mandate yearly inspections.
all right, so I'm gonna make a motion to approve SD inspections for $1,400.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same.
And I'd like to make a motion that we approve salmon V&A for $670.
I second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same, so carried. Yeah, so a V&A, which is, basically Solomon, used to be, I think, the old method. They're replaced, and we used to have like a nurse. But they're doing a pretty good job. I did see we call blood pressure clinic up on the sign.
Oh, good,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm wondering.
By the way, that's something.
This, looks fine, we just have to sign it, that's the
Okay, fine.
approval
Yeah.
for the.
Yeah, so when we do a septic loan, they have to produce their 1040 and
Has to
The
be
specific-
under a hundred, is that 100?
150. But we have to make sure, like, one case someone won a lottery and they didn't put it down, so. Yeah, and I'm going like, well, we had approved it, so like, we'll just say like, whoops, we made a mistake, so here's a 1040 and it looks like it's 20, 15 is 35, and then, yeah, it's like, well under 150, so.
So do we have to approve that though? Or just have to make a motion on it anyway?
Yeah, I think we,
Is it
yes, yeah.
for betterment loan?
It's a betterment application,
Right,
so I think we do make a motion.
all right, so I'd like to make a motion that we approve, the betterment application for 1010 South Main Street.
Okay,
I'll second.
okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Saying so carried. Now, this document here, I'm the only one that signs the application thing.
Yeah.
Once it becomes the actual loan, if whatever the money is, this is for also the application as in where it wants. Engineering costs, so initial monies would be somewhere between 25 and 6,000, and then they'll, with the whole program, looks like it'll be 30K, but they have to get all their estimates in and costs, and then that'll come forward to us again. So, and it used to be 0% for 20 years to the town. So we would pay the, excuse me, it used to be, yeah, 0 to the town. And we used to have 2 or 5, we chose 2%. Then after many, many years now, there's only a couple towns left. So now the state wants 1% in the town.
So
So
now,
we add 2 and 1 and make it 3% loan. And the way interest rates are going, you know, an equity loan, you can't get one for 3%. You could never get one for 2%. You know, anyway,
all
so
right, give me that.
that's that. So,
And then, so now I just have to do.
Would you have
the
236? Huh? Local grade, yeah, it should be
plans. That's
230.
this one? Yeah, no, that's 10 Kathy.
Like 10, 236, okay, fine, good. It's just listed as, yeah, no way. Got it, okay.
So you can read those off. right?
Okay.
Yeah, are they just approved? Are they brand new?
Yeah, actually, do it.
Conservation Commission review requested.
Yeah, if it's anywhere near a wetland. Blackstone Street, definitely. Kathy Drive, no. But anyway, what we have to do now is request a local upgrade approval for 10 Kathy Drive. Read this, and then that's it. It's only one request where. Oh, increase the depth. Normally, you cannot have more depth than. That's the H20 loading. So in other words, what they're doing is that they're putting H20 tank in, which you're able to drive over instead of, but they're requesting instead of 3 feet, 4.5 feet to make it deeper. Now, the only thing they gotta do is put an H20 riser. Remember, one of the laws we passed with the regs was no longer can install a well, excuse me, inspector go out there, find it's illegal by mass law and just say, hell with it, next guy will do it. No, because then the next guy has to hire a backhoe and do it all over again. So I said, when I find them, and any other inspector, you make the current owner who's selling pay to make it 2 grade or 6 inches below the 20s. Okay, so we want to do that one?
Either.
Okay, okay, I'd like to request the local upgrade approval for 10 Kathy Drive. The local upgrade is 310 CMR 15.4051 T, an increase in the maximum allowable depth of the system components from 3 feet to 4.5 feet. And requires components to be H20 loading. H20 means you can drive over H10.
All right, just like that.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, so carried. Now we sign these and,
I like this form, actually.
yeah,
It's nice and neat.
yeah, I just.
It's easy to read like that.
Yeah, I'm not used to it. First, just to write them in, so I didn't
Yeah,
want-
Isn't this
This-
like pretty?
yeah,
Who's doing that?
Steve must have did all of this for us. Very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, must be, you know, he came from, Well, he's a health agent, contractor for 5 towns. I did try to talk him into taking the job. He said, nope. Just like the girls keep saying, Vinny, we're doing fine right now. The way you and Steve are doing.
I know.
No, we're not. I said, this is not the way we're running a town. So someday I might disappear, you know? And if I disappear, I'd like to
This should
think that
be-
there's a real
this
help.
is two
Just
copies.
to- yeah. Okay, you-
Let me just sign it. I don't have a pen. I need to do this.
So, no, we do need a help, you know. you know. But this is like a really nice one. And I looked at this, honest thing. So instead of trying to read someone's handwriting, when you got it all printed out like this, it's just like, it's just perfect.
He can't appreciate the new form because he hasn't seen it done in a while.
Yeah,
This is
that's all
so
handwritten,
pretty.
you know, it's like if somebody makes a,
All right, go ahead, make a
Yeah.
motion. I don't know.
if someone makes like an I, like, you know, like, whatever, the letters. Okay, I'd like to request a local upgrade approval for 236 Blackstone Street. 310 CMR 154051H reduction for the separation distance between the bottom of the soil absorption system and high groundwater from 4 feet where required to 3.41 feet.
Really?
You do 3, 4 to 3, but, okay, hey, that's what he wants, 3.41 feet. He's like a scientist, like me. Only I would do that for a second.
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, so carried. So, hey, how do we say it? Some people are very precise. Haven't seen that before, but I will not fault someone to say, I can measure to that distance. And if you're good,
You're good.
then you get to do it your whole. Okay. So, that said, the agent we hire is it's gonna take more time for him to learn, or her to learn from Steve than it is from me.
Yeah, but it's great because when he's out there doing inspections and stuff,
Yeah.
like that person can go
Yeah, absolutely.
and
And
learn.
when I do Title V, whether in Bellingham or not in Bellingham, I will take the new personnel, and then we'll go get the test, because they still will need coursework after that, but they won't need it the first year. They kind of get a course. No one usually does it that
Yeah.
way. But I just said, why not give them the edge? You know, they're gonna hear all this in the class, they're gonna learn it, and then they have to take a state test. So if they've already seen it done, you know, then they should be ahead of the curve, right? Anyway,
All right, that's it.
yes,
I'll look at it and then
Yeah.
that's it. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
okay,
I'll second.
okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, so carried.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you.